Hello and welcome to part 3 on my discussion about the Mozart Clarinet Concerto in Quintet. In this video we'll be looking at and comparing and contrasting the second movements of the concerto in and quintet. Now this has been obvious to me since I started playing both pieces, and it wouldn't have escaped the notice of many clarinet players that the two movements are quite similar in terms of thematic material. In fact, they begin with the same 3 notes, although the displacement of the second note, the F, I think, makes for a slightly different tone in terms of mood. Now, the second movement of the concerto I find to be a rather melancholy work. I mean, it starts off positively enough. There's so much beauty there. It almost makes you want to cry. It's just so beautiful. And then at bar 17 we come in with the second theme, the descending notes from A to D, which are then further emphasised by going up a note and then up another note, are incredibly sad for me. But I remember playing this with orchestra back in 1999, and I had just about everybody crying when I was playing this, including myself actually. But the moods lightened quite a lot when the solo part comes in at 34. It's actually quite a playful part. It's very happy. It shows the marvellous differences in timbre and sound between the different registers. Mozart just writes so exquisitely, idiomatic writing for the clarinet, and the bars leading up to the cadenza are just beautiful writing for the clarinet, and I will be exploring, as I had in my analysis, as much of the basset clarinet part as I can. And of course the cadenza is used both, or is often both used in the concerto as well as the quintet. But then after the cadenza, we come back to the main theme again, but I try to play this as quietly as possible. And I think the sadness is emphasised because you're not repeating the first theme again. You go directly into the second theme, which the sadness of which is further emphasised when the orchestra repeats it. And then in the upbeat to bar 84, I think again there's sadness contrasted with a little bit of lightness. It's like a remembrance of sort of a happier time, but it's not quite a happy time now, and so the remembrance is a little bit bittersweet. And I think this pervades right through to the end of the movement. So yes, we are. It's a very introspective part of the piece, which I will play. Now, on the other hand, the quintet is, I think there is a little sadness in it, whereas the first theme of the concerto is quite happy. I think that the first theme of the quintet maybe is a little sad, and it's very introspective, much like the end of the concerto slow movement. But so again, It's incredibly, incredibly beautiful. And I think before it gets sort of too much to bear, then in bar 22, or actually probably even 20, with the sort of the rising motifs, I think make it very positive. And the 5 notes I find most incredible, which mirror the concerto, is in bar 34. So you've got the A, the G, the F, the E and the D, which are floating over what the string quartet is doing. And I find that the demi-semi-quavers from bar 45 are almost like stairways to heaven. And again, at bar 51, after the cadenza, you try to play the softest playing that you possibly can. And then at 80, again, it's incredibly sad. It's not quite so introspective, but again, I think it's a remembrance of past happiness, which is a little bittersweet because you're not quite so happy at the moment, which is actually something that really resonates with myself, having suffered from depression so much that I can see it in other pieces of music. So let me play it for you so that you can see what I mean. So this first theme, incredibly beautiful. But I still feel a sadness underneath it. I mean, it's quite positive, but I do feel a sadness underneath it. And then, of course, the sadness comes through to the fore in bar 17. This music -1 starts brilliant, I love it. Note here the sort of extra tensions in the melodic line via the appoggiaturas, because really the theme but it's the tension is heightened. Let me play that for you again. does make me want to weep. Whereas the quintet's quite different. I mean, it's almost the same notes. As in the first movement, it's so less busy than the concerto. I mean, the accompaniment almost the same, the notes are almost the same, but I feel in bar 7 and 8 that with the rising motif that it's more uplifting. And there's a motif that's repeated in both the concerto and quintet, and we're talking about bars 15 here, which appears earlier in the quintet than it does in the actually it's about the same time, which is quite eerie. The so that's the concerto. And yet in the quintet, but the difference is, at bar 17 in the quintet, is that you get an interrupted cadence, which prolongs the phrase a little bit longer than it does in the concerto. So let's listen to that, because it's quite interesting. We'll go back to the concerto. Actually, let's play it all. I love it. put forth the suggestion that in bar 17 onwards, you are having a kind of toing and froing with the orchestra, which is quite sad as well. An extra longing. Go to the quintet, and you'll see how almost the same notes, but completely different feel. Through both the first sections, and we come to the middle sections of both pieces, and they're not so different. I think the concerto is slightly more playful, and you can make that very obvious. A little bit cheeky, and the wonderful writing, you know, just, I mean, it's quite virtuosic, and I've seen some people play with it a little bit. And here I want you to note how similar these two themes are in both the concerto and the quintet. We're looking at the quintet at bar 21, and we're looking at the concerto at bar 39. So Okay, so that's the concerto. This is the quintet. I mean, they're practically the same notes. Very, very similar. And what's even more similar is that we go down to the shallow before rising into the clarion. So and then the wonderful whereas and then and we're in the quintet. Mozart's happy to be not quite as busy, but let the string quartet take over for a while. The clarinet is in full centre stage here in the concerto, probably as it should be. I mean, we are talking about an orchestral work and a chamber work, yes. But here it would be lovely to have the basic clarinet. I mean, you could have so much more fun, you know, in this. Would end up yada da. Oh, I mean, it just would be so much fun. But we can't do that. But of course you've got this. So where in the concerto the clarinet takes front stage and centre, in the quintet the clarinet's happy to take a back seat. And where in the concerto it's very much upbeat and very playful. I think that's playful and cheeky, and very playful and busy, whereas I think the quintet is a lot, you know, a little lot more introspective. But, let's go on with the quintet and we'll... you to note here is almost the same theme here at 50 in the quintet there is at 17 in the concerto, with the descending A, G, F, D, E. The rise in demi-semis in the string part, and the clarinet is balancing that with the descending dotted cross. Because we're doing it again. The clarinet repeats the theme. heavenly. It's just, oh. Listen to the angelic harmonies. Listen to the harmony. It's just heavenly. We get to the cadenza slightly differently. Let me take you to the concerto. And they're not so different. You've got these demi-semis, these rising demi-semis. And it's interesting to see how we both get to the cadenza. Okay, and then we come back to the first and second themes again. And let's go now to the sort of the codas of the movement. And again, you've got a similar motif. And in the concerto, and I think the emotions intensified just from holding the F for a full beat rather than just for a quaver in the quintet. But again, when the concerto ends the phrase fairly quickly, we'll again go to this interrupted cadence in the quintet. And while we get some fairly new material in the concerto, in the quintet we go back to sort of the familiar which is exactly repeated as bar 21. So let's take these final codetas, shall we? And just see how differently each is. So we're on the concerto. Again, this pulling to and fro. And it's almost too much to bear, you think. Listen to that B flat, it wants to resolve. octave. So we've got new material, which he takes down the octave, and it just shows up the registers so beautifully in the concerto. So you've got the middle register, the clarion, and then in the next line, and now down the octave. Let's hear what happens in the quintet. Almost the same as well. So similar to 86. Now, whereas the concerto is fairly busy, this is very simple. So that's my comparison and contrast of the second movements of the two pieces. Again, this is all about what I think. You know, it doesn't have to be what you think. You completely disagree with it. You know, there are a lot of similarities in thematic material, accompaniments. The moods vary at different spots in the piece, which you would expect. But they are two very different pieces of music, even if the notes are very, very similar. So I hope you've enjoyed my analysis of the second movement. In the next video, part 4, we'll look at the last few movements of both works. So thanks for listening. Bye for now.